It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell VA4, Restorer Pharmacy Soufre, Knights Med Miku, Lay by Bar The Morn, Dexter's Place Jeremy Street Castries, Citygate Bar The City opposite the market, Plants Place Denry Highway, Arlette Supermarket Soufre, The Release Stress Bar Labrie Highway, Cool Joint Bar Victoria Schwazel, Prios Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop opposite the Grosile Bus Stop. Prios Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosile.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
The Ministry of Health has launched yet another service under universal health coverage. This new service includes conducting pap smears using liquid-based cytology, which will assist in eliminating cervical cancer.
This new method of conducting pap smears is more comfortable and more convenient. So ladies, contact your nearest wellness center to get to know about our pap smear clinics.
Turnaround time for HPV testing is 1 week. Any abnormal or positive test, there'll be a following week for cytology testing. We're also going to test for HPV strains 16 and 18, which are the most aggressive, which cause cervical cancer. We can also test for other STIs such as herpes simplex type 1 and type 2, gonorrhea, chlamydia, and others.
Patients with an abnormal HPV and an abnormal cytology shall be referred to the colposcopy clinic. At that clinic, we shall assure that you get the proper treatment and guidance.
So come in and access this new service. Your health is our priority.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
So much everyone for tuning in once again to The Real Issues with me, Shelton Daniel, your host and producer, on behalf of our technical operator, Alton Jaquan Joseph. Today is Friday. It is the 20th day of the month of September 2024, and as it goes, we would have completed another weekly cycle of The Real Issues, which airs weekdays, that's Mondays to Fridays, holidays accepted, from 12:30 until 2 p.m. on Real FM radio station, serving you on the split frequencies of 91.3 for the North, 91.5 for the South. And we're also on Facebook Live as well as streaming live on YouTube. Not to forget that we simulcast on MBC Television, channel 120 on the Flow Cable TV service. And I hope on whatever platform that you're following us, that today we won't have any network problems, any little jiggles and wiggles and, those sorts of things that bother us from time to time. I did tell you about my cable. Well, at some point today, between 11:30 and heading up to midday, all of a sudden, I kept it on NBC and, the service just came back. So whatever the problem has been resolved. And I was able to watch, for the first time this week, I think, for the first time almost all of this week, I was able to watch the lunchtime news, our lunchtime news, because it had already been locked. I left it on channel 120, and I was able to follow. Cecil Actil and your news team, great job that you're doing. And with, the resources I know can be challenging in terms of personnel. People tend to move on and all those sorts of things. You've had to carry a lot of load, I know, in the newsroom. But to you and the very few that you have working with you, I want to, say congratulations to you for what you're doing. DJ X, who used to be up here doing what Jaquan is doing now, has long transitioned to the newsroom, doing both reports and video and so on. Young man I've always been, very pleased with, so continue doing the great work that you're doing. Tony, you're not feeling well today. Hope you get better soon. Hope you take up my little suggestion, of what you should drink to deal with, the couple of things that are bothering you. And I also want to send my greetings to our front office manager. That may not be the exact designation, Vunet Jalim, who I think, if not herself, but a member of her family, has been a bit challenged health-wise, so she's having to attend to that. I hope everything works out well. Indeed, to all my colleagues here at MBC Television and Real FM, great outfit, doing good work, pushing through, sometimes, with a lot that is lacking, but really, doubling up, pulling out all the stops, putting your shoulders to the wheel, and getting the job done just the same. While I watched the lunchtime news, I have to tell you that I was very happy with the very comprehensive instructions, the very comprehensive directions, precautions and cautions and warnings that the police gave out as we look ahead exactly 1 week from today for the motorcade that will be welcoming our latest, maybe even biggest national heroine, Julian Alfred, back to St. Lucia. Well, we won't be welcoming her back on that exact day, but we know that it'll be a national holiday. Julian Alfred Day, a lot of people say Juju Day. That'll be on the 27th. And so that has already been passed into law that it's going to be a one-off holiday, not a regular annual national holiday and so on. But we do know for the homecoming, there will be a motorcade that will be passing through and stopping in different communities. And I have to tell you that the police statement could not have come sooner or at a better time, because I've been thinking there is nothing worse that could burst our national bubble than if Julian were to come and, because of people being over enthusiastic, being over exuberant, motorcyclists and vehicles whizzing up and down and doing all this sort, and next thing you know, there's an unfortunate accident. Even if the accident does not involve Julian Alfred, but by association, something happens and there's a fatality in the vicinity of the motorcade, and right away it seems like it blights everything, that it was blighted and so on because people got injured and people died. Worse again, if it is some incident that involves Julian herself, injury in the motorcade or something worse. We tend to get carried away, and there's a lot of us that tend to do things when we feel we are on a stage, when we have an audience, noeme gam, noeme notice. We like a lot of attention, and so rather than be celebrating the coming of Julian Alfred and making her the center of attention, some of us, we want attention. Don't tell me you don't know that, the set of guys who always go and raise some kind of trouble and violence anytime there's some big activity going on, a blockorama, some dance. That's when they go. I hear a lot of it, people believe sometimes it's the evil of the music and all of that. They're just some guys who like to do things because they want attention. I don't know if it's women, they want to see them and they cannot talk to them, so that's the way they have to get attention and so on. And I've been thinking, it's been troubling my mind. I didn't want to say it, so I'm happy that the police came out and said the measures that they have in place, and that we would all give them our compliance and cooperation, etc., so that we don't go doing silly things, overcrowding the roads and so on. You want to have a feel good about the whole homecoming of Julian Alfred and Julian Alfred Day and so on, that it does not become something that has drawing away the attention from the central purpose because, it blocked the road. People could not pass. People got irritated. People got vexed. The angry blowing of horns and people trying to overtake at bad places. And then, this whole sort of thing. Least of all, as I have said, for there to be any harm or injury coming to Julian Alfred, And the sad thing about it, given what we've seen in the country, no matter how sad it will make some of us, no matter how much sorrow, how much anguish it will cause us, there'll be people who will be rejoicing. You'll see them, they'll pretend that they, that they're unhappy about it, whatever. But it's like, in our country now, it's about, what sucks it to somebody else. What as I say, burst the bubble of Philip JP and the government, that this thing was incompetence, and it marked, this whole poor planning and so on, that it ended up resulting what should have been a joyous occasion turned to sorrow and mourning and grieving and so on, an accident, and maybe Julian got injured and this kind of thing, and they have to take the blame for it, and this government must go and they must resign. It's like some of us, we welcome those kind of things. We welcome it. We look forward to it. And that is why I can understand why some people, albeit without any evidence whatsoever, will say that the crime situation, certain people are behind it. I shut that down very quickly on my program. These conspiracy theories and unfounded accusations and so on, I do not entertain them. But this is the reason, because I just find that when a bad thing happens or threatens to happen, you just sense too much jubilation coming from certain quarters, which I might say predictable quarters. Oh, our correspondent banking relationships and our this and that and our visa-free access is in danger, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. This kind of doom and gloom prophesying and naysaying of everything, and you wonder whether it's a cautionary note that they're sounding, or they want to see it happen because they believe in some twisted way it will redound to their benefit. I just hope, that this whole thing with Julian Alfred, that it goes smoothly and flawlessly. I just hope so. Especially for the young children. I don't think many of us have wrapped our minds, sometimes, and for a politically charged person, you'll find that strange. We're too politically driven. We're too politically overcharged. Many of us can only see the political value of Julian Alfred, and so from the moment she won the medals at the Olympics, about a tussle and a tug of war between who did more for her and who gave her more, and if they recognizing Twatine enough, and there's so many people we can recognize. We're thinking about Alfred Emmanuel, that it is during his time as president, of the St. Lucia National Olympic Committee, my good buddy McGinley, who was my guest not too long ago, that it is during his time. Do we ever think of the St. Lucia Amateur Athletics Association? Do we think of so many other people and support, factors and so on in Julian's life and progression and so on? It becomes a tussle. And so it's the political value many of us see. We have to think of the young people, The young people are in need of heroes and role models. And Julian Alfred winning a gold and silver medal at, the Paris Olympics 2024, and then another gold medal at the Wonder Diamond League and so on in Europe again. These things are huge. These things send out a message to the young people that you can grow up in whatever is considered the seedy side of town and the ghetto side of town and the not so well regarded, that now the message is, it don't matter whether you come from Mark or Sandy Fe or some part of the Dennery Valley and Bruceville and so on and so forth, that just across from Bruceville is a playing field that soon is going to be a restored stadium, that you can get together for the organization of community groups and clubs and picking up these athletics and other sports and so on, that we can become great and so on in all of that. The community spirit needs to be looked at for cooperating, for coming together. Stop thinking we have to do everything by ourselves. Organizing little meets for the children from very young and so on. Even preschools and so on used to have, and I'm sure they still have, regular sports meets. That was a time of excitement. And then there was a component of the parents' race and the sack race and the lime and spoon and the community bazaar and so on and all of that. We need to stop pitching everything at the political level and seeing it in the level of Pip versus Chasney and against Guy versus this person and Nancy over that, and get back that little community thing where you used to do things and enjoy them and have fun doing them and all of that. And so I just want to say this. Julian Alfred's homecoming and all the hype and all the celebration and all the honoring and the national holiday, I hope it will serve. I don't think one shot we can do it, but to recapture some of that national spirit, some of that community spirit, some of that patriotic spirit, some of, an inspiration for what we can achieve, especially the young people, that they can see alternatives in their life. And it's not just enough to talk about it. is to do tangible things like the restoration of the stadium, is to see this young girl who came out of Cicero Primary, who, you know, how she went on and forward, and all the hurdles and all the impediments and all the challenges she faced, went over them. You know, the Twatine story is a good one to be told to, you know, of an ordinary man, a man who not come from high echelon, is not a Cap Estate man and a Rodney Bay man, is a down-to-earth person, you know, like that and so on. And how could have had such a profound impact on her development? Maybe we need to hear the story of the National Olympic Committee, what kind of measures and support they put. There are many stories that need to be told, and they need to be told more loudly. They need to be told more prominently so people can know that while you may have the hero and the medalist and so on in the foreground, there's a lot happening on the back end that we don't pay attention to. We only pay attention to the pedestal moment, to the platform moment, to the podium moment, while before the podium there is a lot that had to take place in the background. The cricketer that comes to prominence, the Darren Sammy, who goes on to become not just the first St. Lucian to play international cricket for West Indies and so on, and test cricket and all of that, but goes on to become the captain of the West Indies team, and with him at the helm for West Indies to win 2 World Cups and so on. You know, I don't think these things, they really sink in. And where's the guy from? The guy's from Diga in Miku and so on, from humble beginnings and all of that. You know, we have to think of those kinds of things and to hear the story of the progression, and even if we've heard it, to hear it again and so on. Too many things, I believe, are pitched only at the level of politics and the excitement and the thing, and to blame people and to point fingers at politics. Politics is not to blame for everything, you know. It has a lot to do with it, you know. But I believe we need to find a certain empowerment that is not always centered around the pointing of fingers and the apportioning of blame among the parties and so on. And sometimes the people who are involved, they make a lot of noise to drown out the other voices because they want attention focused on them, if it is something that they believe has accolades that can help them again, or they want to focus on the other side when it is blame and when it is, you know, telling you accusation and this sort of thing. They don't want the real stories of development, the real stories of support, the real stories of, really going through a systematic step-by-step process to get from A to B and hence. And I believe this is the time with Julian Alfred that we have to let that focus, especially for the young people, to serve as a rallying point of inspiration for them. There's so much that I want to say, about this and so on, but I'll leave it at that. I think you get the idea. And even to those of you who are my comrades and so on, stop turning everything into a political story. The political story is there, it's important. But there are too many other things that can and need to be told. Maybe now we open our eyes from the time we see preschool sports and they have whatever it is. You can see some young people that seem to have a natural knack for this, for the track. They look a little fast and so on. You can begin to see them. I remember I was in Antigua, and my landlord at the time, had 3 sons and 1 daughter. And the daughter, one day I looked at her and she was very sprightly, lively child. All of these children, and by the way, they were white people, and they liked me and so on. And I noticed them sprinting from one corner of the yard, one end, to come to the place at my door. And they had a little dog that, basically like she was racing it or chasing it, whatever. And I saw her do it a couple of times, and I said to, the landlord, your daughter, that speed with which I've been watching her, she has athletic ability in her, you can, when you have a little bit of connection and experience in it. And I said, you all need to urge her in the direction of athletics. The way she runs barefoot on the concrete paved yard, cobblestoned and so on, she's got strong feet and so on. She can strike that and do it, and, there's a natural strength in her. It wasn't long after, very young, that she won not a running race but a walking race of considerable distance with so many elder people and so on. And I'm thinking, it was a walk race of, considerable distance, and I couldn't believe that she won that race. I don't know if they followed up with her with the athletics thing and so on. But These are the kind of things that we look and we can spot talent in people. Those of us who music, whatever, we can hear a young person sing and we can say to them or to their parents, you know, there's something special about this child. The way they're able to sing and the way they're able to control their breathing and project their voice and everything. You may be the first point of discovery of a tremendous talent. Our country is great based on the sum of the greatness of its people and how they can contribute and so on. There is so much more that we can do, and let us stop putting all the burden on the politicians and on the leaders and on the commissioner of police, but find out how we as people can carry our responsibility as citizens, as patriots, as community people, participants, leaders, whatever it is. It's not only when you have the title of leader, you're a leader, you know. You are a leader sometimes just by participation, just by contribution, just by your being part of it and so on, and doing all that you can and doing more than you probably should be doing, more than your share, carrying the load for somebody else in terms of your contribution and so on. That makes you a leader. You don't need the designation and the title of leader. I would like to think I'm a leader of some sorts just hosting this program. I don't have title of leader, but I would like to think that I am a leader of some sorts in putting out some kind of inspiration, in putting out some kind of enlightenment, in bringing out some kind of clarity. And all of us must try to find our own space, our own role, our own identity as leaders by exercising leadership in whatever it is that we are doing, whatever the endeavor. Stop laying it on. It's always a Philip J. Pierre. It's always the government must step in. It's always the government must do that. It's always this and that. And that is why we feel we need to be attacking all the time. Too many of us, those I call my brethren, they don't seem to have any space in their temperament to celebrate progress and all of that. The walk for progress was not meant to be just an event or an activity. It was meant to herald a mindset, to see progress, to see achievements and so on, to point to them, to highlight them, to celebrate them, than to always be looking for everything that we have to tear into somebody for. So that doesn't move the needle many times. It doesn't really bring things forward. Of course you have to criticize, of course you have to rebut, of course you have to refute, but it cannot be your focus is like there's a paranoid. Let me watch what they're going to say. I want to dish with them. I want to go back at them. And sometimes when you do that, you keep jumping ahead of your own leaders, of your own people who are your coordinators, who probably have this thing well thought out, well laid out, well planned out. And sometimes you're messing up things more than you should because you believe you have to take the lead. You know, sometimes you can be in the army, whatever, and you on the battlefield, whether it's a mock or training exercise or whatever, and you see certain things happening and you feel you should jump out of the trench and charge at the enemy, and you mess up all the plan of your commander and your platoon leader who was waiting for people to come, the other side to come within a certain distance, within a certain range before taking certain actions and so on. And just go and you mess up everything. At the moment you jump out and charge, comrades will feel that they have to come and give you cover and give you support, and you might have messed up a whole thing. People, let us be a little more disciplined. Let us understand that maybe for the first time in a long time we have good leadership that we can trust, leadership that we can believe is well considered and well thought out, and stop jumping out of the trench or the foxhole or breaking cover and going and mess up a whole lot of things because you believe this person, you have to attack them, this person, and then you just throw everything off. You just throw everything off. So let us hope that Julian Alfred will be a demonstration of the discipline, because it had to take this young lady a tremendous amount of discipline, which is uncommon for young people in this day, and in this day of her age, of her demographic and so on. It's far easy to just go into the self-indulgence and self-gratification of the party and the good time and the dressing, and you get a little fun, and before you know it is all about, it takes a lot of discipline and self-denial and sacrifice with your diet, with your sleeping times, with your exercise regimen. Do it when you don't feel like doing it and so on. These are the things we need to watch and so on. That the path to achievement most times will only come through self-denial and self-sacrifice, if not always. Now, how far did I go, Jaquan? This was intended to be just a couple of minutes. What's the time now? 5 more minutes. People, we've heard from Shazi a couple of times pertaining to what's happening in Martinique and the people, various stakeholders saying they're going to just shut down and go on a strike if there is not some significant reduction in the prices that they consider have just gone out of control completely. Right? He gave us an update yesterday about that. Well, let me tell you, there have been two developments, one in Antigua and one in Jamaica. I'll tell you about the Jamaica, where a minister is warning businesses that his ministry and its various agencies will be going after them if they're found to be engaging in price gouging. Jamaica, businesses engage in price gouging warned. Industry, Investment and Commerce Minister Senator Obin Hill has warned that agencies in his ministry will be going after businesses found to be engaging in price gouging. Since the passage of Hurricane Beryl on July 3rd, Jamaicans have been complaining about higher than normal prices for some goods, which Hill said was expected after the hurricane, noting that the Consumer Affairs Commission, CAC, has been monitoring the situation. And in quote marks, if businesses aren't following the rules, the agencies that I have and the authority that we have within the law will be used at full force. And as the CAC goes out, if we find people who are price gouging, we are going to put the full force of the law at you, because we don't want that. We want you to be fair. End of quote, he said. Hill, who was speaking at Wednesday's post-cabinet media briefing held at the Chalmers Avenue location of Business Process Outsourcing BPO company, ITEL, explained that price gouging happens, quote, when you have goods that you are hoarding and won't release until the price goes up, or you buy new stuff coming in and you mark it up because you used to get 15 or 20% and now you're getting 45 and 70%. He noted that price checking was being done from before the hurricane and is continuing, so there is abundant data from May and June to do comparisons to identify price gougers. 6 days after the passage of the hurricane, Prime Minister Andrew Holness had advised Jamaicans to report any incidents of price gouging. In a ministerial statement in the House of Representatives on July 9th, Holness said the government was closely monitoring market activities to ensure that unscrupulous individuals do not exploit this disaster for financial gain, noting that citizens should have access to the necessary supplies at fair prices. Quote, I asked the public to report any instance of price gouging, meaning an increase in price over and above what you were paying for the same product or service before the hurricane, Holness said, advising that people report to the CAC or directly to the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. Holness said the government had issued an order before the arrival of the hurricane under the Trade Act to prevent price gouging on essential goods. However, in late August, Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining Floyd Green had raised concerns about the price gouging of agricultural products in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl. Addressing a media briefing at his ministry's St. Andrew office on August 27th, Green said traders were allowed access to external markets to ensure the nation has adequate food supply. Once we have adequate supply, from our perspective, we know what should be the regular price for a number of our agricultural products. I am concerned that our traders are not passing on savings for our consumers, and I am getting a lot of outrage around prices of things that have come from external markets that seem to be still bearing the same high prices, even though the cost of source for those items are low, the minister said. Green said he had brought the matter to Hill, who asked the CAC to conduct an investigation. What we do not want is people taking advantage of the challenging times to unfairly raise their prices. We are providing the access, so the consumers ultimately must benefit, Green said. A St. Mary farmer, Simeon Matty, who spoke to the Jamaica Observer last month, said since the passage of Hurricane Beryl, he has seen that some farmers, especially those who were not greatly affected by the storm, hike prices unnecessarily, which is a practice he condemns. Farmers are the only sector of business people who can raise things as much as they want to 200 or 300%, and it just goes through like that. And then now they pressure the government all the time to take taxpayer money and give them fertilizer, said Matty. Matty said that he has seen prices raised above. He has seen prices raised. Let me see that. He has seen prices raised twice within 24 hours, and consumers left to hand over their hard-earned money. They need to do better, man. They can do a lot better. The vendors, them sometimes too exaggerated with the prices, so you need to have some sort of government control to go around and make sure that they're not overcharging, he told the Observer. Matty is among stakeholders in the sector who have been advocating for the implementation of legislation to prevent price gouging in the agricultural sector. Green, in response to the call for regulations on prices, said that it is a matter the government has looked at and continues to explore. Clearly, there has to be a balance between ensuring that farmers get a good return on their investment and also ensuring that the consumers will not always have to pay too much. The real solution is trying to get adequate storage so that we can always have adequate supply, Green told the Observer last month. Very, very, very interesting. There have been concerns about the price gouging in St. Lucia. Maybe you can tell me whether you think direct intervention by the authorities, by the government, will help. Is it something that will hurt businesses? Are all factors being taken into account in terms of what affects prices? After the break, I'll be talking about the Antigua situation and what the Prime Minister there has threatened if egg producers go ahead with a planned increase in egg prices. We'll be back shortly.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell V4, Restorer Pharmacy Soufre, Knights Med Miku, Lay by Bar The Morn, Dexter's Place Jeremy Street Castries, Citygate Bar The City opposite the market, Plants Place Denry Highway, Arlette Supermarket Soufre, The Release Stress Bar Labrie Highway, Cool Joint Bar Victoria Schwazel, Prios Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop opposite the Grosley Bus Stop. Prios Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosley.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
The Ministry of Health has launched yet another service under universal health coverage. This new service includes conducting pap smears using liquid-based cytology, which will assist in eliminating cervical cancer.
This new method of conducting pap smears is more comfortable and more convenient. So ladies, contact your nearest wellness center to get to know about our pap smear clinics.
Turnaround time for HPV testing is 1 week. Any abnormal or positive test, there will be a following week for the cytology testing. We also going to test for HPV strains 16 and 18, which are the most aggressive, which cause cervical cancer. We can also test for other STIs such as herpes simplex type 1 and type 2, gonorrhea, chlamydia, and others.
Patients with an abnormal HPV and an abnormal cytology shall be referred to the colposcopy clinic. At that clinic, we shall assure that you get the proper treatment and guidance.
So come in and access this new service. Your health is our priority.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM. the man.
You're listening to The Real Issues on this Friday, the 20th of September. Thank you so very much. Let me say a special good afternoon to those of you who are on the Facebook Live, and also to those of you who drive the discussion around the clock on the Real Issues WhatsApp group. To those of you in the WhatsApp group, I want to remind you that the group is intended to generate discussion. I mean, you may read something, you may get something, some video, something online, and like I said in some guidance I sought to give, it tickles your fancy. It doesn't mean that you have to come and just drop it and dump it inside there, clutter up things and then make it difficult for people to navigate through. People are complaining about, the kind of memory this thing takes up on their phones and so on. And then you will see that when you put it, the kinds of things that generate discussion, it's mostly local issues. Yeah, you might come about how Britain, has ill-treated black people across the centuries and this kind of thing. And then you see it's just there. Nobody really takes it on. They have so many other places they can go for that. So I think you'll have a good idea of the things that stimulate and generate discussion among the members of the group and so on, which I want to expand, but I was just watching carefully. No, not everything that you see that, fascinates you and so on, that you should just come and just drop it there. I'm tempted to say dump it there and so on. It has to be something that drives and stimulates discussion and so on. So just bear that in mind. But thank you so very much for your interest and your participation. From the very first time that I went to Antigua and stayed there for a few years, even before the present government of Gaston Brown was in office, the previous government of the United Progressive Party led by Baldwin Spencer, and the agriculture minister then, I remember, was Hilson Baptist, who called him Brother B. And one of his proudest announcements was how Antigua had achieved self-sufficiency in eggs. Yeah. Can we say the same thing? Has that ever happened in St. Lucia, that they didn't need to import eggs? I think tomatoes were another thing that he said, and probably onions. Yeah. Again, a lot of things have to do with presentation and packaging, because if you go to the supermarket and you see the local onions, they were big, they were okay, but I don't find a good job was made with the presentation, trimming of the roots and this kind of thing that you'd see with the imported onions. So it would not surprise me if people would still go and buy the imported onions. I'm sure they were as good and who knows better and so on. I bought a couple, but it's like when I buy onions, the only thing I think I really need to do with it is just peel off the outer brown skin and so on. Onion is not something that's hardly beside the point. There was a lot of pride in the accomplishment of being self-sufficient in egg production. I remember that. Now recently, the egg producers, the Layers Association or something like that, have announced that they intend to, or they would like to raise the price of eggs by $2 for the dozen. So from $12 a dozen to $14 a dozen. This has resulted in some determined and robust pushback from the government, especially the Prime Minister Gaston Brown, who has threatened that if they do that, all the protections that he has put in place to kind of secure the market for local egg producers, he's going to remove it. So he's going to remove whatever duties and whatever quotas, whatever, for imported eggs and so on, and just free up the egg market. So it will be a case where the market will separate the men from the boys and better man will tell, if they go ahead with that sort of thing. The egg producers have said that they have some issues which they must raise the prices, and that is a perennial thing I hear all the time across the Caribbean, the cost of feed. I'm not going to make that the main subject, but I have often wondered whether we are incapable as a region, not in one country, of providing more of our feed that we require for livestock, whether it is cattle, whether it is goats, whether it is whatever. Or is it that we are not thinking creatively, innovatively, and outside the box enough? I don't know if it's practical, but I'm saying when a crop farmer has so many melons or pumpkins or whatever that he cannot sell and it stays on his hand and it has to be dumped, Is there some way that it can be taken and it can be put through a process of milling and crushing and dehydrating? And if you take a pumpkin, for example, it's in the case where you have to peel it, can you not just dry and mill and crush and powder and whatever, put of granules of pumpkin that would include the seed, the inner, fleshy part and the skin and everything? Because I have seen animals, especially ruminants, that is the animals, the cattle, the sheep, the goats and so on. They get on a pumpkin or a melon and so on, and like they can't get enough of it. Is there something that we can do when it is in abundance? Are there other sources of things that we can turn into animal feed that is not too costly? I don't know. I'm just saying. I kind of wonder, are we so pressed that we always need to be importing feed from outside the region or from very few select countries, that there's a scarcity, whatever, that drives up the price and so on? Are we really thinking creatively in that regard? But basically, the Prime Minister is against them raising the price of eggs. And here's a late report that just came out in the Observer newspaper by a young man that I supervised when I headed the newsroom there as managing editor, Robert Emmanuel. Always a very promising person as a reporter. I do remember transportation issues that he had when it was time to come to work, me having to go and pick him up in the Hodges Bay area where he lived, at the back of Royal Gardens and so on, and then going back to drop him there. Quiet young man, but always showing quite a lot of soul. Don't know if you're listening, Robert. I look at your bylines and so on and your stories, and very happy to see that you continue to be a big contributor to the news columns of the Daily Observer. A senior official, and it's headed, Farmers Refute Government's Claim of Agreement on Egg Prices. A senior official within the Antigua and Barbuda Layer Farmers Association says government's announcement yesterday of striking an agreement to stave off a price hike for eggs is inaccurate. Cabinet claimed in its weekly report that it had successfully averted an immediate price increase on eggs following talks with the Layer Farmers Association. It followed Prime Minister Gaston Brown's warning to local farmers that the government was considering removing all duties, taxes, and restrictions on imported eggs in a bid to keep prices down. During Wednesday's cabinet meeting, industry representatives reportedly presented their case for a $2 increase in wholesale egg prices, citing increased heat. Listen to that, one of the reasons they're saying. Many times we don't think of those things. They said the increased heat is causing chickens to produce fewer eggs. Did we ever know that? Do you ever think about that? Fewer eggs than normal, and the increase in feed prices. The government announced 3 separate measures to crack down on the rising cost of eggs. Firstly, a study will be undertaken by an accounting firm within the next 60 days to determine the cost farmers incur to produce 1 dozen eggs. Secondly, the cabinet said that they would establish a poultry board made up of between 5 to 7 members representing the Ministry of Agriculture and the Layer Farmers Association, with an accountant and the chief veterinary officer also sitting as members. The cabinet also agreed that a discount promised on water would be enacted. Last year, then Minister of Agriculture Chet Green announced that all registered farmers would be able to get subsidized water from the Antigua and Barbuda Public Utilities Authority, APUA. However, Valerie Edwards, General Secretary of the Layer Farmers Association, told Observer that the announcement by the government of an agreement was news to her. And let me tell you about water in Antigua. It ain't the same as here. We complain about any time they talk about a 25 cents increase in water and so on. Why? Because we are accustomed to cheap water that we get from rivers and streams and dams and so on. Not so in Antigua, no rivers whatsoever. They have to get the water from ponds, still water, we might say stagnant water, that they take and then they filter it and they treat it. And that only represents 40% or less of the water. The rest, they have to get it from seawater that they have to take and remove the salt and other impurities from it and so on. So that's desalinated water. So together with the degree of treatment and so on that comes from ponds, the largest of which is one called the Potworks Dam, that they have to get the water from it, Then you also have the desalination, so water there is fairly expensive. Of course, they don't pass on the full price, like in St. Lucia. Government bears the cost because they recognize how important, how critical, but water there is still significantly expensive, more than St. Lucia. And they recognize that water for farming. And that is why they've been encouraging farmers. They've had workshops that I've attended in rainwater harvesting, of how to conserve and store rainwater, how to have your own little dams and so on. Of course, with permission from the authorities. You don't want people going and dig holes everywhere, etc., etc. And so water was a big thing, and they promised that they would give the farmers water at subsidized prices. And so Valerie Edwards, the General Secretary of the Layer Farmers Association, says there was never an agreement between the association and the government, so I don't know where they come up with that, because we told them what was discussed in the cabinet, that we needed to take it back to the members because they're of the misconception that we are the ones that make the decision, Edwards said, noting that they are farmers who are not members of the association and thus need to be consulted. She added that on the heels of a meeting with around 40 farmers Wednesday night, a press release detailing their demands would be subsequently issued. The government in its cabinet note said that it had reached out to neighboring islands to assess whether they were experiencing similar calls for egg price increases. They claimed that egg prices in many Caribbean countries were lower than in Antigua and Barbuda, despite similar climate conditions. I might add here, maybe the water cost is not so high and so on. However, across the region, a number of factors have led to an increase in egg prices. Jamaica recently reported that farmers were also considering a price hike, citing unsustainable production costs amid other factors such as Hurricane Beryl, while in Trinidad and Tobago it was reported earlier this year that the country was facing a shortage of eggs due to adverse weather conditions hindering egg production and 2 separate increases in feed costs within 6 months. Ambassador Lionel Hurst, Chief of Staff in the Prime Minister's office, stated, "We had asked a number of Caribbean countries to provide us with the cost of eggs in their supermarkets, and it turns out virtually all of them, I think with the exception of Barbados, had lower prices than Antigua, and some of them are not producers of feed." The government also expressed further concern that the association importing feed to sell to its own members was not business practice. Let's say that again. The government also expressed further concern that the association importing feed to sell to its own members was not good business practice. Hurst said, quote, "The cabinet is determined to ensure that the cost of eggs remains affordable to the lowest income earners in Antigua and Barbuda." I'm going to say this. It may sound like the line of least resistance for government to go on to legislate and say you can't raise prices, and if you raise prices, I'm going to do that. But I think it is necessary for a good, proper, methodical look to be taken at what drives prices. You don't want to just go and tell, even minimum wage was not just legislated willy-nilly. It went through a long process of consultation and study and all this kind of thing before it was arrived at. That this matter of prices will go through the same process, because you don't want to go on to just tell pork producers, we don't want you to be selling pork, more expensive than $8 a pound or whatever it is, when in fact the reality is the cost of feed, the water that they have to use daily to clean out those pig pens and piggeries or whatever we call them, and all the different things, the veterinary support, the vitamin injections they have to give the pigs, and all this kind of things, it exceeds breaking even, much less making a profit at $8 a pound, and then you drive them out of business. And drive them in and out of business is killing the goose that lays the golden eggs, and then you have nothing. So this high-handed approach of government just telling you we don't want eggs sold more expensive than 12, does that really square with the expenses and the costs that the producers have to bear? And I think the sooner we get to answering those questions in St. Lucia, the better it is for us, that we can have a fair and balanced way. Maybe there's nothing we can do about the climate. Maybe the water, we're as cheap as we can go because water is already heavily subsidized by the state. The price we pay for water, that's not the realistic cost of producing the water. But they recognize water is such a basic need, So whatever it is and so on. But I think the matter of the feeds, it's something that needs to be looked at very, very closely. Now, before I open the phone lines, let me just say that I couldn't watch Can I Help You last night, but I got up early today and I watched and listened to it on my phone because I told you about my cable issue and so on. Last night the internet and even though the TV was not on, but my goodness, my efforts to watch it on my phone was just phone sticking because internet just wasn't, the whole things people found and so on. I found it at home also. Between internet, Facebook, whatever, it just wasn't clicking. But I watched it. And there was this very, very nice interview that Richard Frederick had with Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. A lot of what was centered on the impact that the Citizenship by Investment program, which they call CBI in Dominica, Citizenship by Investment, we call it CIP, Citizenship. We leave out the by in the initials, and Investment I program, CIP, but it's the same thing as Richard noted. It was a very good Prime Minister Skerrit. I've always liked him for the very cool, his aplomb, his equanimity, the calmness with which he doesn't excite or agitate himself. And I mean, it is amazing what CIP has done, has accomplished for the Commonwealth of Dominica. I believe it can accomplish as much for St. Lucia. We came in a little later than they did, and Roosevelt Skerrit pointed out that contrary to what many people may believe, when he became Prime Minister 20 or more years ago, just thereabout, that he found a CIP program or CBI program already in place. It was nothing like what they have made it. They have developed it and advanced it and tweaked it. He doesn't feel it was very well managed and so on. I believe it is because some people see the potential of what CIP can do for St. Lucia, what it's already doing. That once again the race, which is to prevent your opponent from getting any feather in their cap, which can end up giving a good report about them that might translate into electoral fortunes, that a lot of people are trying to destabilize and undermine. The CIP program, which they themselves were happy to embrace and to try to see what they could get out of it and so on, including Galaxy being in St. Lucia today. It was because of them, but now everything is wrong with it. And I want to say I was also very happy to hear Prime Minister Skerrit talk about this whole matter about correspondent banking relationships, that is nothing which Dominica has been threatened about. He doesn't know. The loss of correspondent banking relationships has nothing to do with CIP programs. It's been a problem that has been ongoing with countries like America engaging, or their banks engaging in what they call de-risking. That all the compliance that they have now to conform to as part of the whole regimen of anti-money laundering and combating the financing for terrorism, like AML, CFT, which really became a big thing after the 9/11 terrorist attacks, that a lot of money was being moved around the banking system by people who were connected to or were supporting the terrorists, and there was not sufficient surveillance, and that because we do not have the resources of the United States, jurisdictions such as ours, small island states and so on, a lot of that money could move through our banking system and we would not spot it. Or even if we spotted it, we needed the business and the account so much that we might just let it go through. And they were determined to stop off, and a lot of banks in America, which would have been our correspondent banks, the bigger banks, some of which were here, like Scotia and all of them, they just felt that small jurisdictions like ours, the profit they were making from us, even if 1+1, it's too much headache. It was just too much trouble for them. For them to be linking up with us with all our vulnerabilities because of our weaknesses and resources. What they had to put in to secure their branches and their businesses there, it was just too much. It wasn't worth it for them, so they began to pull out. And then you began to have the debanking. That's what Gaston Brown said. He said it's not a de-risking, it's a debanking. We're losing the banks that we depended upon to be our channel and our link with Canada and all of that. So we are being not just, they're de-risking, but the result is we are debanking. We're losing banks, This is what it has been about, and that is why the whole collective approach within the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union became so much more urgent and imperative, because it was only by coming together and developing the collective strengths and so on that we saw stronger banking institutions like, gave us that kind of robustness and greater resilience that we could face the threat and so on. So all this thing about CIPs, what is causing de-risking and causing us to lose, it was happy to see Prime Minister Skerrit giving the lie to that. It's been a problem that we have had, that those big countries now see that we must serve as perimeter guard posts for their own security. So whatever we have, it's affecting our cooperative, because they say, you now have to hold cooperatives up to the same standard, of requirements in terms of financial, strictness and oversight and this kind of thing, because the way it is, if you don't do that, people can move money for your cooperative network and that sort of thing and then feed it into the banks. All of those things they are watching. So the little mom and shop approach to credit unions and so on, all of that had to be tightened and looked at. It isn't that you don't want your credit unions and so on to have this kind of open door access so that people can easily walk into them. They're watching all those kinds of things. And I'm happy that when we can have people from other territories to come, and all the lies that are being told, that they will not fly as they would have if you didn't have that kind of collaborative and looking at what's happening in other jurisdictions. Jaquan, where are we now? 3 minutes, okay. I'll tell you what. Let's open the phone lines, even for 3 minutes, until you get to the other side of the commercial break. Or maybe I sent you a video, didn't I? You didn't get a video I sent you? Or you didn't look? I sent you a short video clip. You didn't download it? Huh? No, talk to me. All right, okay, but it probably won't before we get the break, right? All right, okay, let me just read okay, we have a call. Let's take the caller. Hi.
Good afternoon, my
Real Issues, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, Sheldon.
Hello.
How you doing, my papa?
Hi, Real Issues.
Yeah, I just called to thank you, Sheldon.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm hearing you now.
Yeah, I called to thank you. When I heard the amount of vehicles...
hold on, caller. It's a little squeaky. Yeah, are you there?
Yeah, you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now.
Yeah, when I heard the amount of vehicles...
Lower my mic so the feedback here. Go ahead.
That the police said that they're going to allow in the motorcade was 40. I was feeling disappointed, because I say to myself that we are going to welcome our queen, and everybody could be driving their vehicle and having their flag. But when I heard you expound on the ramifications as to why the police had to put certain measures in place, you kind of open my mind, and I say, well, you make a lot of sense there. Yeah, you spoke very well, and you put a very good case forward.
That's regarding what?
Concerning the 40 vehicles, the police said that it's only 40 vehicles that is going to be allowed for the motorcade.
Yeah.
For Alfred. But I thought that they could have accepted more vehicles. But when you spoke concerning the thing that could happen, I think you kind of spoke very well on that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one point of my contribution. Next point of my contribution is, Sheldon, are you going to sign up for your 100,000 US dollars?
I've done that already, man. You think I'll ever let that pass?
But Sheldon,
that's a double M there, that is Martinez money,
Imagine every solution getting, but these fellas really feel like Rickwen said, when a man knows 1 is 2, and he's coming and tells you 1 is 8, it's because he's taking for a super axe,
Yeah.
I mean, you as a pastor, you want to tell people, that they'll be getting 100,000 US dollars?
Yeah, a pastor who should be helping us not to dig ourselves into pits.
Pastor,
into the pit because of the love of money, which is the root of every injurious thing, Yeah.
So the going to America without visa work. The bananas to France work. The 23 islands work. So now they want to up it now on St. Luton.
Hold on, Gaspar, are you there?
Yeah, I there.
Yeah, the volume of your call just went down. I don't know why.
Yeah, you hear me now?
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just stating that
all right,
the bananas to France.
Listen to have a loose connection or something.
The bananas
all right,
to France.
Gaspar, just hold on. You think you can get it resolved, or maybe we should go for the break? Huh? Gaspar, keep talking so the technician can hear. Something just went south on us there. Don't know what it is. Well, not south. I'm sorry, south people. You know, it's something. Just we seem to have a little glitch. All right, it's 1:30. Gaspar, sorry about that. At this point, I'm just not hearing you anymore.
Okay.
So we're gonna go for the break, try to get it fixed, and then we'll come back shortly after to take more calls and read some messages.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell VA4, Restorer Pharmacy Soufre, Knights Med Miku, Lay by Bar The Morn, Dexter's Place Jeremy Street Castries, Citygate Bar The CDC opposite the market, Plants Place Denry Highway, Arlette Supermarket Soufre, The Release Stress Bar Labrie Highway, Cool Joint Bar Victoria Schwazel, Prios Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop, opposite the Grosile Bus Stop. Prios Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosile.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
The Ministry of Health has launched yet another service under Universal Health Coverage. This new service includes conducting pap smears using liquid-based cytology, which will assist in eliminating cervical cancer.
This new method of conducting pap smears is more comfortable and more convenient. So ladies, contact your nearest wellness center to get to know about our pap smear clinics.
Turnaround time for HPV testing is 1 week. Any abnormal or positive test, there will be a following week for the cytology testing. We also going to test for HPV strains 16 and 18, which are the most aggressive, which cause cervical cancer. We can also test for other STIs such as herpes simplex type 1 and type 2, gonorrhea, chlamydia, and others.
Patients with an abnormal HPV and an abnormal cytology shall be referred to the colposcopy clinic. At that clinic, we shall assure that you get the proper treatment and guidance.
So come in and access this new service. Your health is our priority.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
Alright folks, let's just play a short video, just about 3 minutes and a few seconds. De-risking, 18 September 2024. The controversy over citizenship by investment propagated by Philip Martinez has generated a lot of controversy that has raised alarms in St. Lucia. But no issue has been so worrisome as the threat of correspondent banks cutting off ties with the small banks of St. Lucia, which would limit business, trade, and even the ability to do online shopping. The governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, that Mr. Timothy Antoine, however, tells a different story. Let's hear this report which came out on Choice TV.
When opposition leader Alan Shastney first said that corresponding banking relationships with St. Lucia were at risk because of alleged corruption of the Citizenship by Investment program, many St. Lucians panicked. Corresponding banking relationships allow the relatively small banks of places like St. Lucia to do transactions with bigger banks, simplifying international trade. It affects everything from importing inputs for business and agriculture to sending and receiving money to shopping online.
I'm always concerned about correspondent banking relations. The truth is, just as credit unions need banks, banks need correspondent banks to trade with the rest of the world.
In the wake of allegations that St. Lucia's banks are on the verge of having their corresponding banking relationships severed because of the CIP controversy, the Bank of St. Lucia was moved to issue a statement calling the allegations baseless and false. The central bank governor was similarly provoked on his visit to St. Lucia last week.
This is an area of high interest and priority focus for us. So as a central bank, we periodically meet with our correspondent banks to discuss with them what they're seeing, if they have any concerns, if there are any issues that we can assist with as a central bank to ensure that our banks continue to have those relations.
Caribbean banks have faced de-risking or the loss of corresponding banking relationships before. During the recession of the late 2000s and later around 2016, some countries in the Caribbean like Jamaica, Suriname and Belize lost up to 75% of their corresponding banking relationships as larger banks cut ties with them in order to minimize risks to their profits. In the same period, St. Lucia lost less than 25% of its corresponding banking relationships, meaning that even in a high-risk period, most St. Lucian banks were not seen as a high risk to the global financial system.
We have seen improvement in recent years in terms of these relations. As our indigenous banks, for example, have become larger, especially those that bought Canadian operations, we've actually seen they strengthen those corresponding banking relations.
Since then, things have only gotten better.
But the issue, to your question, is really how we continue to reduce the risk profile of CIP programs. And that's one of the reasons why the regulator is so important. Because to the extent that we're able to reduce the risk profile, it will give additional comfort and confidence to our correspondent banks.
The central bank governor did not call stories that St. Lucia might lose its corresponding banking relationships fake news, but he did emphasize that the central bank has a responsibility to ensure that Caribbean banks do not swim into territory that could drown Caribbean businesses and economies.
We are always monitoring that situation carefully. Sometimes it's risk, sometimes it is strategy. A correspondent bank will say, we want to move, like we don't want to take on that risk anymore. We want to do something in a bigger country, less risk or perceived risk. And so we are constantly monitoring and we're sort of vigilant about that. So I really welcome the decision of our heads to get the regulator established because I think that will help.
For Choice News Now, I'm Jason.
Okay, so we want to acknowledge once again Choice TV as the copyright owners of that report, and Jason Seafley as the presenter of it, featuring the governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. All this relentless scaremongering about, we're losing, always be in danger of losing something, people in St. Lucia who somehow believe, I don't know on what basis, if it is on the color of their skin or their self-perception as being, products of North America and being Americans and so on, that they're always speaking, it seems, for the U.S. State Department. What the State Department, which is, it's official and legal agency, the embassy and so on, never say. They always have a commentary on people's visa, whether the visa is genuine, whether it's just a 3-day visa they give them, or they always want to speak for the U.S. Treasury Department about whether people are misusing the U.S. banking system and they're engaging in racketeering and this kind of thing. It's always them. I don't know. Let the U.S. authorities speak for themselves, man. Let the U.S. Treasury Secretary, let the U.S. State Department, let the U.S. Attorney General and the U.S. attorneys and prosecutors and so on speak about whether there is a RICO taking place or whatever. Because it's always them people who want to come and speak for America. Where you got the authority, you're not part of the, you're not part of the U.S. administration. You're not part of its agencies and so on. But always we have this kind of thing. People who fancy themselves as being more American and more Canadian than the Americans and the Canadians themselves. Always them, our Schengen visa access and wham, Magic to sell. Anyway, the phone lines are still open for your calls. 487-9849. You can WhatsApp call us on that line, okay? 487-9849. 9849. I need not tell you about the 758 and 4533-911, our local landline that you can reach us. We had a little glitch. Jaquan worked on it during the break. Don't know if we're going to be bothered by it anymore. But give it your best shot and make that call. We're getting another one right now. So let's see if we're going to hear the person as powerfully and clear as we heard the ring. Real Issues is on and you're on the air. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right. Okay.
You're hearing me, huh?
Yes, we're hearing you and we're hearing that ular.
Mular, man. We can sweat bullets, but mular, man.
Qu'est-ce qu'on fait aussi comme ça? You sure?
Massa, si, fouette ma vete. Vete, God. Moi, suspect c'est correspondent banking na kinimoro. Shelton.
Yes, my friend.
What you just did there, the noises that you made, were you doing what you might call him there, that Trinidadian Prime Minister? What's his name again? Trinidadian Prime
Rowley?
Minister. You were doing a Rowley?
Yeah, it seems so because, every time it's a wham, wham, wham. Yeah, you know.
But Shelton, remind me again, what degree you have again?
Tell me. A mixed one, a bouillon one.
Right. And sometimes they have a Wednesday. On Wednesdays, people normally cook bouillons and that kind of thing. So them fellas need to have a bouillon on the daily because apparently that is what Cambridge Analytica has told them to do. Give them a bouillon, man.
Yeah.
Lucians like bouillon. Now you realize we're heading into the end of September, going into October, which is Creole Heritage Month. The launch of Creole Heritage Month is this Sunday. So, of course, let's go there. But the saddest part, Shelton, is those people that have the straight degree that are pushing this issue. Now, Gaspar called you there a while ago, and he was talking about a pastor. I don't know if it's Tenderoni, Il Pirata, Swiss, or Carib pastor.
Is that type of pastor they call Pastor Quim? Because I hear Yadi makes reference to Pastor Quim very often.
I think that one they're just trying to have a sword turning ceremony to start the building of the factory to make that pastor Quim, because that pastor ain't yet get what it's supposed to get. And you have these people pushing agendas and they're not using their brain. Shelton, do you remember a man called Henry Girodi?
Of course, yes.
Remember him?
Of course, yes.
Do you remember a man called John Compton? Remember him?
Yes.
But to me, these people were not dumb.
Yeah.
They were not daft. And I'm looking at the people that calling themselves Flabo today. If there was a Henry Girodi in St. Lucia alive today, them people could not pass on the same alphabet chat that UWP is printed on a shisha where be speaking on behalf of UWP.
Yeah, well, that UWP seems to be so long gone, dead and buried, and those people don't seem to have,
do you know what happens?
They don't seem to have any regard for it,
My God, they're not even a carcass again. That thing go to the grinder at Rambali. It was cremated. My God, and people are proudly saying they are Flabo. Ça pas Flabo.
Il passe à Flambeau pièce, hein?
Ça pas Flabo. Ça pas. That ain't no bow.
That's a lot.
That's what they're taking the current now, and you have to go inside of that organization to create some measure of light for the country. You're not getting nothing. And we have to, I agree, at some point we have to stop giving. My God, a man that had the opportunity to determine the date of election for us did not do it when he had the power and the authority. Today he wants to use all papi show to come and tell us that Mr. Pierre cannot take a 5-day vacation for all his hard work of the last 3 years. A man, an economist, doing the best for us under the current circumstances. Shelton, I want to urge us to turn away from looking at the nonsense of what passes for opposition in this country, redirect our thoughts, energies, and our children, and ensure our children don't use anybody on that side as examples. Let us direct the implementation of brains and intelligence into our children and our young people. Shelton, I bid you a good rest of the day, good weekend, and advance birthday greetings to the Yardman. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, it's going to take a lot more to mobilize and to marshal and to inspire a political party than just to come up on a platform or podium and shout "Mamai Flabo! Mamai Flabo!" Like you really believe in the Mamai, literally, like you believe they are little children and so on. That all you have to do, is just, as they say, hector them with a shout of "Mamai this." You're really treating them like Mamai. What kind of intelligence are you appealing to when these are the kind of unresearched, uninformed, things that you come pitching at them about correspondent banking and those things, and just throwing it at them and the whole Martinez thing? It's a direct insult to the intelligence that you don't even consider them as having. But anyway, we have a call on the line. Good afternoon, Real Issues.
Bueno, l'explication pour bonjour, monsieur Sheldon.
Hey, how ka fet?
Well, moi just last time no vie nom ça là.
Bon, on no person, eh?
All right. For the opinion by God, you know who?
Yeah, what's in your mind
Excuse
today?
me? What degree has he? Doesn't have a West Indian degree.
It doesn't matter.
What I suggested not too long ago, it looked like he just bought the Creole book.
Okay.
The Creole dictionary. So the little piece, each little piece he grasps, he uses it and uses it and uses it till it sticks. Then he grabs another one. What kind of degree he has? Is it the one that they sell at the pharmacy?
I don't know. The man said he has a master's degree from American University in Washington. It is a master's degree in development banking, which is a cross between an MBA and an economics degree. That's what he said. These were his exact words.
But let me say, you mean that the man has that kind of qualification and that is how he run our economy?
Qualification is one thing, application is another.
But may I ask you another question? Don't forget, as West Indians, when we go abroad, especially America, the first thing that strikes their mind, our qualification means nothing to them. But we have to do our work and get it right, whereas anybody can write the exam for them. You see Chasney's own, somebody wrote it for him. I don't know if it's Carlton that wrote it. And I'm blaming Carlton too.
Let's not make things, statements that are unsubstantiated. You don't know that, do you?
No, I'm asking that question.
Yeah.
Somebody must have. Oh,
yeah, well,
you mean this man went to school and he can't do better?
Yeah, I've never heard it suggested that he didn't actually write the exam or get the degree and so on. I don't know. I didn't hear that.
But with a degree, you mean you have not put it into use? Alan is not 15 years.
Yeah, well, maybe he has. Didn't he have a man with a PhD in economics as his minister in his ministry and so on, who was handling finance matters, called Ubaldus Raymond? Wasn't Ubaldus supposed to be genius or close to that status?
I will accept.
It doesn't
I will accept Ubaldus has qualification. I don't accept Alan.
Yeah, it doesn't appear that Ubaldus did any better, than Alan, so.
But you are acting like you don't know Alan.
Yeah.
Even Ubaldus were to have asked Alan to do it this way and that way. It is Alan's way.
Yeah, well.
Philip works with people. Alan don't work with nobody. Alan works with Alan.
Then Ubaldo should have done what he did when he was with the St. Lucia Labour Party. Resign because, you were given good recommendations and suggestions and they're not being taken up and so on. Why did he stay the full 5 years? You understand? So
yeah, because sometimes, you have commitments.
Yeah, okay.
And because of the commitment, you are forced to accept all kind of nonsense, put up with all kind of things that are not right.
Yeah.
You come out.
You think that is
and
true?
And then people ask you, why did you stay? But his commitments had him to stay because he has business to take care of. He has a family. It's not a matter of asking people to leave, If you have commitment, it is something else.
Okay. I don't know any of that. I don't want to speculate as to what would have been.
No, that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying I don't need to see Ubaldo's qualifications. I know Ubaldo did well at school. And he brought himself where he is.
Yeah.
Like our old friend Christopher Hunt says, Alan is the kind of man, anything he can buy, he steals it.
Okay.
Now, who knows? He must have got the qualifications anyway.
Yeah, but let's not say that, this sort of thing.
Hello.
Yeah.
I don't see anything good in Alan.
No, I understand. I understand. But do not be making statements about he bought his qualifications and those things. Let's not say.
Let me alone say.
No. You're saying it on my show. You're saying it on Real FM. You're saying it on NBC. We don't want that going out there like us.
Don't take Alan for granted.
Yeah.
Don't take Alan for granted, and we don't want Alan back.
Yes, I can allow you to say that. It's an opinion, but don't come and say things like he bought his degree and this sort of thing. Okay? Thank you very much. Yeah, we must stop thinking that just because we don't like or support somebody that we can say anything about them. I do not support that. And I want to, essentially disavow any kind of endorsements or agreement with this sort of thing. And if I'm trying to guide you as a caller, please, show me a little bit of respect and regard and trust that I know what I'm doing when I tell you not to go down that road. We have a caller on the line. Good afternoon, Real Issues.
Good afternoon, Shelton. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Wonderful. I'm diverting from the issues being discussed this afternoon just to make 2 quick points. Shelton, I would like the Ministry of Transport to look into road marking. It's 2 things, road marking and signs. On several occasions, we see drivers driving in the middle of the road. And I'm wondering, is it because there are no road markings, or the road markings have been erased through wear and tear, and we need to have it back on our roads? Because up to this afternoon, on 2 occasions, I'm dead left, and you had drivers literally on my side of the road, 2 separate occasions. So I think, and I'm believing it is as a result of the lack of proper road markings. Secondly, Shelton, I know in the the Road Traffic Act or regulations, it speaks to vehicles not parking on the sidewalk. And on several occasions, coming up the John Compton Highway and other such places where there are sidewalks, I am observing vehicles are parking on the sidewalks. The sidewalks are for pedestrians and not for to be utilized as a parking lot for vehicles. So I just want these 2 areas to be looked into by the Ministry of Transport.
Okay.
Shelton, thank you.
Thank you very much. When it comes to road use, I just find there is a pervasive lawlessness from multiple angles. Cyclists who decide that, they're going to ride on the sidewalks, and why should you be on the sidewalk? It's a pedestrian thing. As a cyclist, you're not a pedestrian. It don't matter if it's a bicycle. But we have a call on the line. Good afternoon, Real Issues. Hello. There. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm hearing you now. Go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, Brother Shelton.
Yeah. Good afternoon to you.
Yes. Yesterday I called and then we had a power outage, in Library, and then I was cut off. We were talking about my tagline, let's go to the races with Invest St. Lucia. Yeah. And just to put it short.
You're the rabbit farmer, rabbit breeder down Bosejo, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Remember, the framework agreement was signed and came into effect in July of 2016. Then the land was vested, the same land was vested in Royal Crescentia.
Yes.
St. Lucia Limited.
Right.
That's in 2020. Do you know that Invest St. Lucia had to relocate me, had to relocate my enterprise, and they refused to do so. And additionally, as recent as 2022, Invest St. Lucia sent me an invoice for lease payment for the period 2016 to 2022 for the same land.
Where were they supposed to relocate you to? Did you know?
Well, they made yes, I know it was Kokodan.
Okay.
But for some reason, that was cut off.
So they left you in the location that you were not supposed to be. They didn't relocate you. And then they want to charge you for having occupied the location from which they failed to move you. That's what you're saying?
Yes, that is it.
All right.
And I don't know whether Invest St. Lucia is an agent of DSH or Royal Crescentia Limited. Because how can they already list a lot of land to somebody and at the same time wants to collect lease payment for it?
So who have you gone to? Are you able to tell us how much money they're asking you for that period that they're billing you for?
They're asking me for about $20,000.
And that's for a period of what? About 5 years, 7 years?
2016 to 2022, because I was paying $2,350 per year.
Did you ever actually pay it?
Yes, I did. Sure. Well, not the last one, not from 2016. But that was what I was paying before.
Okay.
I need to ask a question. Isn't it unethical or fraudulent intent for a government agency to be asking for payment for a land that is not controlled by them?
Who is it controlled by? You're saying it's Royal Crescentia. So would you have been okay if the bill for you had come from Royal Crescentia or DSH, whatever, that they had told you that you've been occupying our lease lands and so on, and so we want you to pay? Would you have been better? Would you have felt better about that?
But they would not ask me to pay, since government had the responsibility and Invest St. Lucia had the obligation and the responsibility to relocate me from that land.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What have you been doing about this to try to get it resolved? Who have you gone to? Who have you tried reaching, talking to? Minister for Agriculture, Minister for Lands, whatever it is, Minister responsible for Invest St. Lucia. I don't know. What have you been trying to do to have this matter, brought to some kind of resolution?
I have spoken to the CEO. I have written to Invest St. Lucia Board of Directors. I've written to the minister, the honorable minister. In fact, the honorable minister even told me. All right, or should I put it in a question? Did Invest St. Lucia misled the honorable minister as to how they are dealing with it? I believe that's the way I should put it for now. And I am there, and they ask me not to make any improvement whatsoever on my infrastructure from 2016.
All right.
And up to a day like today, I cannot do that.
Let me ask you very quickly. The time is up already. But the place they were to relocate you at Kokodan, was it a place that was definitively identified that this is the spot? And do you have the option of picking up your stuff and going there since they had promised it to you? Answer quickly.
Well, no, because of the cost of relocation. Imagine SLASPA, air traffic control, Invest St. Lucia. All the stakeholders went there to visit both my location and the relocation place. And for some reason or the other, Invest St. Lucia just don't want to relocate me.
Okay.
They relocated farmers. They relocated the Bonzeshu Agricultural Station.
Okay. We gotta go now. It's 2:00 already. Okay. Thank you so very much. I hope we can continue this conversation another time. Okay.
You can call me at any time.
Okay, will do. I don't have your number though, don't know, but maybe you can send it to me in some way. This is the real issues for today and for the week. Thank you so very much, everyone, for having been part of it. Enjoy the rest of your Friday and your weekend safely. On behalf of Jaquan and all of us here, Shelton Daniel signing out.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
The winning numbers for the midday draw of Friday, 20th September 2024 were Double Diddy Grand, 2, 6, 10, 16. Big 4, 6, 4, 1, 7. Big 4 Multi-X, 2X. Pick 2, 5, 3. Pick 2 Multi-X, 2X. One off, 1, 4, 7. Lucky 3, 275, Lucky 3 Multi-X, 3X.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back.